Hey, good afternoon, everyone. We are buying time. This small herd of dexters, they're grazing a piece that they grazed about 2.5 weeks ago. Now, they didn't graze it heavily. As you can see, there's still a lot of kind of tall residual here, but we've had a lot of great grass growing weather. About a week ago, we had a solid week of 60s and 70s. It felt great. Everyone got in the mood for fall. We had a good amount of rain. It's been a couple days. We're on Monday now, but about Wednesday of last week, the heat really turned on. So all of that cool weather, all of that rain that we really needed, and then some heat really got this grass regrowing fairly quickly. So like I said, it's only been about 2.5 weeks since the cows were last here, and I'll explain why they're back on here so quickly here in a minute, but I'm just buying time. We are still on that leased pasture. If you don't remember, our home ranch is 5 acres of pasture, and then we lease another 8 acres right next door. And then this is actually a 16-acre property, but only about 8 acres of it has quality fence on it. So they are on this 16-acre lease, which is down the road. It's about 1.5 miles down our gravel road. So it's not connected to any of our land. Oh, sorry, Mama. You obviously want what I'm stepping on. So they moved out here. Well, it was right after breeding, and breeding was the second week of July. So it was after July 4th. I think it was the 7th or 8th of July. They moved out here to this lease property, and they started, you can't really see it, but they started way up there, and they marched their way through this front pasture all the way down. Then we came into this, just a little permanent fence there, and kind of where this tree line is here, I set up a temporary fence just because there's a ravine down in those trees that they could actually get out. So they did just this little area, and then I'll show you, we hopped over to this side, and there's a little side pasture over there, but that did not get me as long as I thought it would. So this was extremely overgrown over here. I hope the phone is picking this up. I know the sun's right in it, but a lot of ironweed, a lot of foxtail, a lot of thistles. Let's see what else was in here. Certain forages that the cows actually did eat, very leafy forages. I mean, it looked a lot like this. Just picture everything you're seeing here, minus the trees, over here up to that fence line. It was very thick. It looked like there was going to be a lot more forage for them than there was. Obviously, when this stuff was untrampled and ungrazed, the tops of the plants are very voluminous, and so it looks like there's a lot there. Once they started walking through here and eating and not eating, things I thought they were actually going to eat, they didn't eat, it became very obvious that there really wasn't a whole lot of growth. And short of a lot of the dead duff and decaying organic matter that's on the ground from years of this being ungrazed and just dying and falling over, there's actually a lot of bare soil in there, just because, again, those very tall leafy plants block out the sunlight. A lot of good grass can't grow, good clover can't grow. So when those tall leafy plants and forages get grazed off or stepped on, bent over, very stemmy, it actually exposes a lot of the soil, giving them very big strips, because I didn't want to push them too hard. Obviously, we were in that pretty critical 30, 60 days post breeding, which I am happy to report. Never with 100% certainty, obviously, because anything can happen, but I would have to say that all 3 girls were successfully bred. No one has come back into heat, but those goodness. Hey, those calves causing trouble. Come on. Shh, shh, shh. Come on, go. I don't know what you're doing. You have everything you want over there. Come on. Shh. Man, you got stickies all over you. Let's go, buddy. Come on. No. So this, I'll say that right now, this is not electrified. And actually, the last 2.5 weeks that they've been over here, this wire has not been electrified. Like I said, this stuff was so long and so tall that the wire was constantly being drawn down. The electricity on the wire was constantly being drawn down by all of the forages, the tall forages over here. After that great fall weather, it was just a trick. We are getting back into high heat. Yesterday was really bad, very hot, humid. Today is very bad, very hot and humid. Tomorrow is going to be the worst day yet. They're talking 96, 97 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. Here for central Iowa on that'll be September 21st tomorrow, I believe. That's going to be setting a record for the warmest we've had in a while. So there's obviously a lot of really good shade back here. I wanted to make sure that they were going to be in an area today and all day tomorrow that there's going to be plenty of shade. If you do remember, this pasture up front there had that one tree, that one shade tree. I'm trying to keep them off of that. They beat that area up really bad. I laid down some, what's up, mama? I laid down some annual ryegrass seed. And because of the weather, that ryegrass has really taken off. And so I'd really prefer not to have them be stomping it to oblivion all day tomorrow, hiding underneath that tree. So, all right, let's talk real quick about my dilemma. I have paid for this lease through October 15th. So like I said, today is September 20th. Essentially, we are done. I mean, we are re-grazing. So we have run through everything here. So that's about a month that I would have paid for that I would not have gotten any grazing. And then obviously the sooner we move back to our home property, the sooner we will be feeding hay come this winter, just because we're going to be, the minute we get home, we're going to be starting on our stockpile. I really wanted to get to October 1st. I kind of had that in my mind, that if I could get back home and start all of our stockpile on October 1st, then that should get me through to weather assuming, obviously this is, assuming that we don't have a ton of weather roll in, that will get me past January 1st for grazing. Obviously every day that you can graze stockpile and not feed hay is money back in your pocket, whether that's hay you didn't have to buy this year or hay that I can keep through to next year and I won't have to buy next year. So because I've already paid the money, I decided let's graze this again quick just to get as many days out of this as possible. And they're not going to be as tight. It's not going to be 3,000 to 4,000 square feet a day. It's probably going to be closer to 6,000 to 8,000 square feet. So they're going to run through it a lot faster than they did the first time, obviously. Another issue that this brings up is, you don't want to graze your grass too short or before it's fully recovered ever, but especially before you're going into winter. And so, is this good for the pasture? No, it's not, because I'm essentially taking the energy reserves that this grass plant is needing to get as much as possible, as much root mass as possible to get it through winter. I'm essentially asking it to start using up that root mass and its energy now. What this means is that, yes, it's not great for the pasture grass for the winter, and it's going to be slower to green up in the spring. Now, you may or may not remember, we have far more amount of acres than we do cows right now. The herd is only 8. Not being able to get out to a certain pasture right away in the spring isn't a huge deal, because I'm already going to have pastures that'll be ready to graze. April 15th is usually our target turnout date for starting to graze in the spring. But regardless, you never want to take too much off of your pastures. But again, it's kind of a catch-22. I paid for it. The sooner I move home means the sooner I'm also spending money feeding hay come winter, because we've gone through our stockpile quicker. Or keep them out here, maybe do a little bit of damage to the pasture, but allow it to really green up come spring. Even though it's going to be slower than the rest, make sure that this really gets a good amount of time come spring green up before the cows get back out here. So it won't be detrimental if this was our only pasture, obviously, and then I was going to be turning the cows out here on April 15th after grazing right up to the frost dormancy, then that would be detrimental to the pastures. So just playing that game of keeping the cows moving, trying to keep the cows happy, but also keep the grass and the roots and the soil microbes happy. Two more things I want to touch on quick. The flies have been horrible this fall. It was honestly about the time that, school started. I would say maybe August 15th. The flies just exploded. We have actually had a really good fly year up until that point. Even so much to the fact that I thought that everything that I had been doing was working and I was the only one with no flies, and I was patting myself on the back, only to talk to a lot of neighbors and even people from around the area and around the state to find out that not only did they not also have a bad fly year, but come about August 15th, their flies exploded. We had pink eye in the red steer, Mac, the red steer. You guys saw that video. His mom actually had pink eye not too long ago, and that's why she's avoiding me, because I also had to spear her with that pole syringe and a shot of Draxin. Cleared her up in less than 10 hours. It was amazing. I love Draxin for pink eye now. Obviously, I don't want to be shooting medication into these animals, but I don't know if I want to try and let pink eye run its course. I want to treat it. Draxin clears it up very, very quickly. And I have heard that flies really bad in the late summer, early fall means a really harsh winter. So we're buying more hay than normal this year. We're stocking up. And like I said, I'm trying to get as much out of my pasture so I can start feeding hay as late as possible. But I need to figure out what to do with these bull calves. I would really love to keep these bulls intact and see how they grow up. Both of them are shaping up just super nice. Really good looking young bull calves. And I really want to see how they mature. But again, only having so many acres and so much time, I really don't want to deal with two herds. I'd obviously have to keep those bull calves separate because we have a heifer calf as well as this heifer in front of me who's over a year old that we didn't breed this year. We don't breed until they're 24 months old at least. So she's obviously sexually mature. And then the young heifer calf that we had this year will be sexually mature within the next couple of months. In fact, she was showing heat cycles at 4 months old. These bull calves are starting to mount, but from what I could tell the other day when they were actually mounting that yearling, they wouldn't have gotten the job done. They weren't there yet, both in size and capability, if you know what I'm saying. So that's going to change though in the next couple months, which means that if I'm going to keep these bull calves intact, I'm going to have to separate them. Again, another herd, another area of the pasture, different group to feed hay, different group to move every day. I just think it's going to be too much. But I guess I'm just asking anyone out there in the dexter cattle world what they think about selling bulls. I obviously wouldn't keep them here for good. I would sell them as breeding stock for someone, because the red bull, I love his mom. She's our herd leader. She's a great, great animal. And then the black bull calf we had, number 2, is coming from probably my most favorite cow. The beefy one, the most docile, the one that eats everything. Fat Abby, you might remember. The dun Dexter, you might remember me talking about her. So I know he's going to have some good size on him. I know he's going to have the ability to produce really, really beefy, terminal calves for beef. So I don't know, just give me your thoughts. I cruised around the internet for a little bit. Dexter bull calves for sale. It's always hit or miss, certain parts of the country. I'm not so much worried about price, trying to get a premium for them. I'm not worried about that. But like I said, if I'm going to keep them intact, they're going to have to be separated. And I want them sold as quickly as possible. I just don't know if there's a market for it. So anyway, here's number 2 right here. Your bull calf is a chunk of beef. All right, guys. Just kind of catching you up here. Sorry, kind of a random video. I know I've It's been radio silence most of summer. It's been a weird year. It's been a long year. It's been a hard year. I didn't do a whole lot for the chickens this year. I apologize. There's just been a lot else on my plate that I've needed to take care of. And I just, quite frankly, haven't quite had the passion to make something that is worthwhile watching. So yeah, hope everyone's doing good, and we'll definitely be getting more videos as we transition into fall here, because I'll actually feel like standing outside and talking to you guys, hanging out with the cows, not have a million flies on my face and sweating to death like I have been most of the summer. So, all right, guys, questions, comments, sarcastic remarks, you know the drill, leave them down below, and we'll talk to you all later.